CSOs under the umbrella of Elimu Yetu Coalition have gathered here for the 9th National Conference on Education for All, focusing on school safety. Ms. Elizabeth Owiti, Campaigns Officer, Elimu Yetu Coalition, opened the forum by welcoming participants and giving a brief background.
We are all aware that this year we've had a lot of school unrest, a lot of child protection issues, and we thought as a CSO entity charged with ensuring that all our children access quality education, it is important to take this debate to another level where the CSO fraternity will have an opportunity to have a wider discussion around this theme.
Joseph Wasihongo, the national coordinator of Elimu Yetu Coalition, had this to say.
I remember a little bit earlier this year, around April, when matters of school safety concerns started really coming out in the media. As a secretariat and in consultation with you as members, we thought that we would have a sustained campaign throughout this particular year on matters of child safety.
The outgoing chairperson of Elimu Yetu Coalition, Mr. Daniel Wesonga, gave his remarks as follows.
Today, as we reflect on the theme, school safety, linking it to quality education and the right of the child, it is at a critical moment for our country, because this is a commitment we have also made in our draft National Education Sector Plan, which links to the Sustainable Development Goal 4, Target 4A, which is very clear that we must be able to provide safe, non-violent school places, among other things.
Linking curriculum and school safety, Mr. Patrick Andika of the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development shared the following.
The issue of school safety is quite important to me as a person, because if you went to the type of school where I went, the primary school where I went, for you to move between class 6 and class 7 those years, you are either dead or you are going to pass exams. Because school was a prison. Appreciate the competence-based curriculum. We begin to appreciate the fact that we have had a problem as far as the transition and the retention rates are concerned in this country. That because of the wild environment in which the children learn, a majority have had to drop out of school. And the dropout rates increase the moment they reach a level where they sit for a national exam. When there is a national exam, you see a very high increase in the number of dropouts. So one of the spirit of the competence-based curriculum is to ensure that we have 100% transition. And that also tells you, as we begin to look for 100% transition, we must also rethink the type of environment in which the children are learning.
The role of Teacher Service Commission and teacher unions on school safety was summarized by their representatives as follows.
Parents are throwing away children to the teachers, forgetting that there is only what a teacher can do, there is what a government can do, but there is the bigger part that a parent must do. You can reach out the parents, you can reach out the communities, because more evidence is pointing that the parents have failed, and so the quality of our education has gone down.
Teacher unions, I will just be very brief because of time. There are some issues that we can say that unsafe schools usually disrupts learning, because there is a lot of destruction of resources, and worst of all, lives are lost, placing teachers on the spotlight. But as a union, one of our core values, like HUPET, is service, justice, and integrity. And when it comes to the issues of integrity, we usually tell our members not to condone issues that will compromise things concerning school safety.
And as we talk about it,
we should not, I kindly request that we should actually look only at the teacher as a person who creates all shortcomings to the child. We have to look at the parents, we have to look at the Ministry of Education, we have to look at the TSC, we have also to look at the teachers, so that you look at your department. Do you have something that you think you have not done to the child?
What a better way of bringing out issues of school safety than through students themselves.
My name is Penina Njoki, a 12-year-old girl from Tudisaidie Community School, located in Nairobi County in Kayole. Today I'm going to talk about school safety, since some of our schools' environment aren't safe for boys and girls. First, I'm going to talk about the arrival time and duration. We as girls and also champion of change, we don't feel safe because we have to walk through the dark while going to school, which makes us feel unsafe when walking through the dark. Since we have to go to school, by 6 we should be in school. Now you have to wake up early. Let's say you have to wake up 5 so that you can prepare yourself. Now walking through the dark, it is difficult for all of us.
My name is Trixie Akoto-Keyo, a 15-year-old girl from St. Thaddeus High School, located in Nairobi County, in Kayole. I am very proud to stand before you here today to talk about safety in schools. Well, safety is the state of being safe and being protected from any danger or harm. If we talk of girls, they face more challenges compared to boys. First of all, most girls suffer from sexual harassment from male teachers in schools, and this should be stopped because girls went to school to search for knowledge and not husbands.
Plan International shared evidence on school safety and protection, case of Kilifi and Kwale counties.
As we realize that we work in 90 schools, so all the schools have base clubs and patrons who are able to supervise and spearhead activities. And one of the main emphases are being able to ensure that the children change their behavior, attitudes towards instilling positive behavior, like washing hands after visiting the toilet, and being able to do the necessary, as in being able to go for a long call in a toilet and also a short call in a toilet, not a bush. Okay, so those are some of the benefits that we've had, or the achievement that we had in that area. We also had more than 2,900 children from 71 schools being trained on basic journalism. And one of the main achievement that is coming out of this is the release of the journals that is coming out next month, which will be able to depict issues that affect them in schools, and also being able to mentor their own peers on how to be able to behave positively in school and with bad relationship between them, the parents, and also the school management.
Where we have a teacher forcing a child to repeat a class even before the year ends. And then the child disappears and is never found again. How can we address this in line with the code of conduct for teachers and the integrity that goes with it?
If I start with Laikipia, you are talking on the policy on repetition. That is squarely under the Ministry of Education, but we are one in the sector. The policy is no repetition. No repetition. And what you should be able to do as Kenyans is we should also, now Laikipia have answered that, but I want to elaborate. What we should know, or what we should do, is that we should get conversant with things that touches our life. What are the structures that exist? Which are the legal documents that exist that can help you or that guide the provision of education? The policy is very clear. Every child has right to access education. A child cannot be denied education whatsoever, regardless. Meaning, you cannot deny the child right to education because you think he or she is not good up here. During the times of Karega Mutahi, that's when the petition was banned. It is still banned, just like caning.
There is no clear picture on how the ECD teachers are recruited. Because when you go to the counties, they tell you that we are paying so much money, maybe 10,000 to a teacher, ECD teacher, because there is no guidelines that they have been given by teachers as a solution. So, with KNUT, I think there has been a tug of war that these teachers should remain under KNUT or they have to be fully under county government.
The moment we separated the ECD from the mainstream education, and those days, during the time of Professor Sam Mungiri, who was our minister by then, he was very good, and he was very much passionate with ECD. There's what we call Moscow Declaration by UNESCO, whereby the world was called upon to align ECD with the mainstream education. Kenya in 2010, we made a mistake. If there will be a referendum, we can vote that, because it is only a referendum that can change the current situation.
Day one ended by a press conference from different stakeholders.
This is an important meeting for us as elimu yetu. We have our partners here. We have Save the Children, Action Aid, and Plan International, who have been our key partners supporting us, with me also our board members. You know, we are a movement targeting children. Most of the children are in schools, so then we become an important sector. Issues of safety of children belong to everybody. The issue of children who are taken into children's homes and some ending up in situations which are not desirable will be something unfortunate. When there are any issues around homes and that pertain to schools, we normally are able to reach out to the schools and the structures involved. So our perimeters largely will be around children and children's issues, especially those in school. The totality of the child is important. Child safety means physical well-being, emotional well-being, spiritual well-being, material well-being, and therefore, if a child has been abused, there are frameworks. The first thing is that usually for us, we have policies that guide reporting. So that is not something that will certainly be swept under the carpet. Usually most of the organizations we work with will be bound by policies where you are, anybody who is exposed or working with children for a certain period of time must adhere to certain standard procedures of behavior. And anybody who comes across a situation where a child is in a problem has to report, and there is usually reporting mechanisms for that. The reporting mechanisms and feedback can be from parents, can be from children themselves. They can be, most of them are discreet. Again, you must protect the child, and whatever you do, you must do in the best interest of the child.
Okay, in regard to the teenage pregnancies and the ones who are responsible, I think the key thing is to be able to empower the parents. And it's about parenting responsibility and the parents taking up their role. In terms of the ones who make the children pregnant, it's for the girls to be able to come out and say, I've been pregnanted by so-and-so. And then the families have a discussion around that. But in many cases, you find that the girl is not able to say who has impregnated her because of maybe the fear or the fact that maybe money has been paid. So the community needs to be made aware that there are consequences and there should be stiff penalties if somebody makes a child pregnant, which the law is there, but it needs to be imposed.
In terms of the general solution, like we said, on matters related to child safety and protection, including this particular aspect, it's a collective responsibility. The critical question here is that Each and every one of us is involved. The question is, are you doing enough within your space of influence? So that, for example, if we would be talking about the CS, talking about coming up with a task force to handle this particular issue, that task force should focus on the question, is something adequately being done within the sector?
Day 2, the theme of school safety was emphasized through a video at the opening session.
Sezote inatufundisha tuchunguze haki za watoto shuleni, tuchunguze vitendo vibaya juu ya watoto shuleni na kuchongea vitendo vikali.
Mr. Elijah Mungai, on behalf of the Ministry of Education, had this to say.
There will be standard assessment tools that teachers can use. Now, if you have an electronic device in your school, like a laptop, and you want to access those tools, it will be very easy for you. So we'll be telling you as a ministry, we give you a laptop, yes. So the tools are there in the portal. Why don't you access them? Are you still going to go to your neighboring school and say, can I photocopy yours? So, when we had the school-based teacher development program, we used to have what we used to call recall meetings. So for those who used to remember the KRTs, so we will still remind them what we told them last time. So, and you see, technology is such that if you don't continue practicing it quickly, you easily lapse. So maybe as a takeaway for me, we should see how we can make it as often as possible, our engagements with our teachers to go through those trainings. I was requesting kindly, with your permission, that we don't single out a certain segment of our children and label them and legislate a policy for them.
Save the Children and Action Aid shared additional evidence on school safety as follows.
The Safe Schools Declaration. As at November 2018, globally, we only had 82 countries. Kenya is among them. What we need to now do is move towards implementation. What I would like to show you now is what the DRC, which is a country that has been greatly affected by conflict and where education has greatly been affected by conflict, what have they done as signatories or having endorsed that Safe Schools Declaration? When conflict affects education, it's not just about the structures that are destroyed. It's dreams and hopes shattered. Generations destroyed. And when that happens to a child, recovering is never easy. You'll agree with me that for some of us who are born in some parts of this country, your future is determined the moment you're born just because of where you're born. We want a situation where this will no longer be the case. We look forward to a time where even when there is conflict, we as Kenyans shall be able to ensure that education continues. We said that we will investigate all the allegations and make sure that we act. And we said that we will develop and adopt conflict-sensitive approaches. What we also said is that's a continuation of what it means. So we shall ensure continuation of education. And that for me is key and top on our list. That we shall support all efforts towards that. And most importantly, and why we are here today, my anticipation is that during the next annual meeting, we shall sit down and review implementation, because implementation will have begun. That is my message to you.
In the country, we really need to focus on public education rather than private education. So that when parents need to make a choice on where to take their children, they actually can get that opportunity to take their children to public education or to public schools, because it's actually the responsibility of the government to ensure that all children are able to go to school. And to make sure that children go to school, then this public education, it should be affordable. It should be affordable to all parents across the board. both from the marginal areas, both from the people who are living in poverty and exclusion, to ensure that at least a good section of children in Kenya attain public education. Now, this project is on tax, privatization, and right to education. Tax, the reason why we're talking about tax is because that's where we are getting our revenues from. And for the government to be able to finance the public education, then it should be able to get enough revenue to be able to finance the public education. And it's also known that in the country, issues to do with tax, we have very many issues to do with tax, especially in terms of tax avoidance. We lose a lot of revenues when it comes to tax collection. And that's the only way that government can be able to have a mobilization of resources locally. So that the government does not have to borrow funds from other countries to come and finance some of the services that they're supposed to provide for its citizens.
The plenary was opened for questions and answers.
You really raised something to do with self-declaration, which has already been assigned into by around 89 countries, Kenya included. And you say now we will post our eyes on the implementation part of it. Is there a mechanism that maybe Save the Children is leading to ensure that, or some frameworks for us as CSOs to monitor the implementation of the same? Thank you.
And my question goes to the Save the Children presenter. Last year we had an elections and there was some evidence that the security personnel threw tear gas in schools, nursery schools, and even some primary schools. And that was a good example that should have been presented instead of the DRC. Was there any petition followed up to make sure that that kind of thing does not happen again, because Kenya signed a convention?
The gentleman who asked about implementation of the declaration, the first step, you see, just by being here and mentioning to you, you all walk away knowing that Kenya signed up to that Safe Schools Declaration. So, by knowing that, just knowing that, you will be champions of ensuring that it's actually implemented. So when we have an implementation plan, then you become our champions. And because we all come from different areas, including from Mashinani, then we'll become champions, and anything happening, I'm sure we'll be the first ones to actually ask questions. Isn't that so?
And I would like to comment on tax privatization and the right to education, a presentation by Action Aid. As a very good and faithful taxpayer, the presentation was very good. And as Mr. Songa said, it's actually what we can build on as civil society organizations to do our campaigns. Now, the theme of this year's conference is enhancing school safety for children's rights and quality education. I stand to be corrected because as much as the presentation was very good, I did not see the relationship between the presentation and the theme of this year's conference. So could you just clarify to me that so that I go back to Homa Bay County of choice satisfied? Thank you.
I'll answer, George. I'll respond to your questions. When you asked about why we concentrated the study in the two counties that I mentioned, that is Homa Bay and Kakamega. This study was actually commissioned by ActionAid, and ActionAid has got presence in those two counties. And in those two counties, we are actually actively present in Nyarongi Division and Visero Sub-County. That's why we felt that it's easier for us to conduct that study where we have presence in and where we can have control over even how to run the study.
In preparation for Elimu Yetu Coalition's policy engagement for the next 5 years, the EYC Strategic Plan 2019-2023 was launched.
Thank you very much. You can see from Kirui's talk, we are a new roadmap. But the new roadmap comes with this new strategic plan. This new strategic plan 2019-2023 will be another mark of our commitment to ensure that we actualize the realization of the Kenyan child to quality education. And this commitment is within international frameworks. With this, we are trying to actualize the African vision. We are trying to live our Constitution 2010, which is exposed very clearly in the Education Act 2013, and which is, the Education Act 2013 based on our Constitution of 2010, and is part of an international commitment for us to ensure that a Sustainable Development Goal 4 and others that are related to it are actualized.
To lead us into the launch, I don't know, Chair, you want to say a few words? You're okay. Okay. So the team, where is the team? Elizabeth, where are you? Okay. So from now you take over. Just guide them so that I want to celebrate from here.
Are you sure?
Yes. I should be up there. Okay, tapanda pole pole. But please, just do the necessary. Just guide us from here. Here.
It's an ambush. But thank you so much. I think it is the moment that we've all been waiting for. We have come to a time when we want to launch our strategic plan, and I will give the honors to the chair so that he can take us through the process. Cutting. Something is behind you. So. That was enough. No, you don't need to cut that. So I think we can look at our strategic plan. You can just give space so that, yeah. Just cut it again, the upper one.
So we have our strategic plan, which the new board commits to ensure that there is strengthening grassroots engagements, and it is our strategic plan 2019-2023. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair, and the rest of us. As you take your seats, there was a team that is will be going around giving you the copies of the strategic plan so that we all have something to go home with. And like I said, it is an executive summary. Tujipigie makofi, sote tena.